When I was first looking for an anime to watch last season, I looked through the anime chart and came across a series. It looked interesting enough, but I ended up holding off on watching it, thinking it would be some male version of Idolmaster, because the name made me think of Mekakucity Actors. So about a month and a half after the series first started, I finally looked it up and realized that it was an adaptation for a manga that I actually read a while back. And so I decided, heck, let's give it a try. Hello audience, today on Yvern Box we will be examining Mekakucity Actors, a 12-episode anime series by Shaft and directed by Kyu Kishimbo that's based on a manga, based on a light novel, based on a Vocaloid song series. Well, that's an interesting resume. Kagerou Daze, yes, that's the manga's name and not Mekakucity Actors, is a very interesting story. The setting is in a modern day world that's slightly more advanced than ours. The plot follows a group of teenagers with red colored eyes that give them special powers. Bet you never heard of that before. The main focus of the story is on the one in particular. While I am tempted to say that Shintaro is the main character, overall his role is as important or unimportant as anyone or everyone else. Granted, everyone else is also more or less interesting, with some backstories being thrown around here and there to try to flesh out the characters. However, the story, although very interesting, is also ordered in a very bizarre fashion, with portions being in present time, then jumping to portions in the past, and then back to the present. Although it does make for a very interesting way to tell a story, this hectic way was a pain in the ass for me, and the manga itself felt incomplete or not very well explained. Additionally, the series has only 5 volumes, or about 35 chapters give or take, and has yet to reach a conclusion. This leaves many aspects of it still unsolved or unresolved. This makes people wonder if the anime's ending is an anime-only ending, or the originally planned out ending. The anime follows the manga quite closely, with only some alterations being made on what is already there, but those don't ruin the experience one bit. But it also absorbed many of the flaws that the manga had and quite possibly made them even more obvious. The story could have been much stronger if it had been presented in a different format. Although it might have been the rightest way to beautify the story, it also felt needlessly complex. Flashbacks are usually not most people's favorite parts of a story, and having a flashback being made in nearly every episode does not help either. And even though most people will be able to piece together the story, there was honestly no point in doing what they had done. But the story far exceeds the manga in how it has an ending. Sadly, the ending was almost as hectic as the rest of the story, but overall it did enough of a good job to put a close to the series. The story follows mainly 10 characters, each one having a similar role to play. Luckily, all 10 of these characters are fun to watch or read in their own way. They usually bring to the table a certain type of comedy relief, and in the end it all works out. At the same time, many of these 10 characters have rather sad or even depressing pasts, which offsets me a little, seeing that it doesn't really fit the rest of the personality or character that they try to fill. All of them are rather positive and enthusiastic about life, not because they completely enjoy it, but because they ignore or temporarily forget the problems in their lives. However, there is one character that fills out a more pessimistic role, the aforementioned Shintaro, an unemployed and out-of-school 20-something-year-old man. Apart from being the only one without any sort of powers, though some speculations could be made on that, his personality also contrasts very well against the rest of the cast, particularly Ene, his digital pet? Ene is very upbeat and is one of the reasons why I continued on after episode 1. She has a very happy-go-lucky nature and forces her way onto Shintaro, making him do things that he doesn't want to do. However, her true value only appears when she is with Shintaro because of how interesting of a contrast the two actually make. At the same time, the rest of the characters do an alright job, though I should mention how the show dealt with people in the background. Mekaku is a very colorful anime. It utilizes bright colors while not being bright enough to hurt your eyes. It has a very unique style that makes it look like a moving colored manga. But I did notice that I like to cut corners, whether that be intentional or not. During any scene, only the more important characters are detailed and colored. Passerbys and the like are usually replaced by a gray silhouette that is enough to make viewers understand that they're there, but nothing more. Additionally, from the very first episode, we can see something that did not bother me, but made me think. In one scene, we see a bunch of men with masks on their face. However, if we look at the equivalent spot in the manga, the same men have faces with defining features. And that further makes me think whether the studio was trying to save money, or was instead trying to make something special. Now, what I don't need to have here is a debate, but let me just make one thing clear. The art style is one that might please some as easily as it might scare off some others. And whether people think it's Shaft cutting corners or Shaft being determined to make an anime equivalent of the Okami video game, it's art, so there's no right or wrong. Now let us retrace our steps. Mekakucity Actors is based on a manga, based on a light novel, based on a Vocaloid song series, so decent music should be expected. And on that aspect, the anime delivers, with the opening Daze being upbeat yet soothing to listen to, and the ending Daze making a fine contrast by being much slower and melodic, along with other various songs scattered throughout the show. Granted, the simple fact that there are synthesizers involved might put some off, but I personally feel that they did a pretty good job. Apart from the music, the voice seemed alright, and although I have no idea what they are saying without subs, the attitude that their tones and their voices gave off seemed right for the characters. Mekakucity Actors is a good series, which is surprising seeing its origins. It looked good, it sounded good, and it told an alright story. However, I feel that it tried to do too much, and in the end it bit off more than it could chew. By trying too hard to be original or special, it finished by ruining what would potentially be a much better experience. Granted, for all its shortcomings, both the show and the manga were very pleasant pastimes, with the show in particular grabbing your attention very early on. For works with a similar feel, I would first point you towards Shaft's other work, the Monogatari series, and then to the Ra. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed my review of Mekakucity Actors and its immediate source material, Kagerou Daze. This series was actually requested by one of my viewers, so please leave some other recommendation or request below and I'll see what I could do, or even simply comment. Once again audience, this has been Yvern and my box.